everyone, welcome back to Maths for Kids. My name is Jocelyn. In today's video we will be looking at long division. I hope you've been practicing from my previous videos. Here we have a question, 664 divided by 8. To do this, first we need to see how many times 8 goes into 6. But 8 can't go into 6, so on top of the 6 we write 0. Next we move the 6 over to the next number. Then we will get 66. We will see how many times 8 goes into 66. 8 goes into 66 8 times, so on top of the 6 we write 8. Then we times 8 by 8 and we get 64. We take away 64 from 66. That gives us 2. Then we see how many times 8 goes into 2. 8 can't go into 2. So we would draw an arrow coming from the 4 all the way down next to the 2. Like this. Next, we would write down the 4 next to the 2. Then we would see how many times 8 goes into 4. 8 goes into 4 3 times. So on top of the 4 in 664, we write 3. Then we do 8 times 3, which is 24. We put down 24 underneath. We subtract it. That gives us 0. So 664 divided by 8 is 83. Here we have a question, 330 divided by 22. We need to see how many times 22 goes into 3. But that doesn't work, so we would write a 0 on top of the 3. Next, we would group up both the 3's to get 33. We would ask ourselves, how many times does 22 go into 33? 22 goes into 33 once, so we put a 1 on top of the 3. Then we do 22 times 1. That gives us 22. We put the 22 underneath the 33 and subtract it. When we subtract it, we get the answer of 11. Then, because 11 is smaller than 22, we would have to put the 0 down. We draw an arrow and put the 0 next to the 1. Then we get the answer 110. Afterwards, we ask ourselves, how many times does 22 go into 110? But that is kind of tricky, so we would have to do guesswork. For example, if we take the number 4 and times 22 by 4, we would have to see what the answer is and see if it is close to 110. 22 times 4 is 88. But we could probably add another 22 to it. So we would do 22 times 5. That would give us 110 exactly. So we would put a 5 at the top. Then we would do 22 times 5. That gives us 110. So underneath the 110 in the question, we would write 110. We would subtract it. That gives us 0. That means 330 divided by 22 equals 15. Here is another question. 782 divided by 34. First we would see how many times 34 would go into 7. But we can't do that, so we would put a 0 on top of the 7. We would group the 7 and the 8 to make 78. Then we would see how many times 34 would go into 78. But that's kind of tricky, so we would start off with a random number. Say, if we times 34 with 2, that would give us 68. Then At the top, we would write 2. We would put 68 underneath the 78 and subtract it. That would give us 10. We know that 10 is smaller than 34, so we would have to bring down the 2 to make 102. Then we would see how many times 34 would go into 102. We would have to use guesswork. Let's try and do 34 times 3. 34 times 3 is exactly 102. So we would put 3 at the top. Then we would write 102 underneath and we would subtract it. That would give us 0. So now we know that 782 divided by 34 is 23. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Carry on practicing. See you soon for my next video. Bye!